G'day cheeky dogs, my name's Margie and I'm an Australian currently living in America. And today we are doing the breakdown of Bluey Season 1 episode Butterflies.
Pull it to bug on the wall, ding ching, no one to love him at all.
I also love this episode. There's a lot going on with it and I really can't wait to break it down to you guys, show you all the Easter eggs, hidden little details, things that maybe you might have missed when you watch this episode, as well as some background knowledge that I think is really cool about the music in here as well. If you are new to my channel though, don't forget to hit that like button down below if you like Bluey, as well as that subscribe button and bell for notifications so you are notified whenever I release another Bluey video. But with all that being said, let's just jump straight into it.
This episode of Bluey is called Butterflies.
And starting off with the music and the poor little bug on the wall.
Pull it to bug on the wall, ding ching, no one to love him at all, ding ching, no one to tickle his toes, ding ching, no one to blow his nose.
Now, this song is actually a real life song. It's not a Bluey creation. It was a real life campfire song. You can find a few versions of it on YouTube. You will notice though that it sounds a little different. The words are the same basically, but the Bluey song just uses the first verse, not all the other verses. And we did actually find out from the co-composer Emily Harrison over on Bluey Wiki that the inspiration behind like the changing of the song was inspired by Wes Anderson and Alexander Despalt, who both have created the Grand Budapest Hotel, which we also see an Easter egg for that back in the episode Bob Bilby. It's just like Inception about this, but it's really cool to see like there's that kind of inspiration going on behind the show and behind the music as well. Also, this song was used as a hand washing poster over the 2020-2021 time frame of when we really needed to wash our hands. But it's really cool that Bluey also did this to help encourage children to wash their hands for 20 seconds because that's how long that song lasts. The other little bit of music in here as well is the hand clapping game and song that Bluey and Judo are doing.
Because you're dirty, not because you're clean. Bluey.
This song is actually called Apple on a Stick. And again, I think this is something that makes it so relatable to even older audiences because we've all played that game. I heard that and I was like, I remember that song. I'm like, do kids still do that? And yeah, of course kids do because it's just constantly passed down. So the name is Apple on a Stick. I would love to know in the comment section down below if you remember doing that clapping game when you were a kid at school. Now, the second thing I want to bring up in this is the character Judo.
What are you doing, Bluey's dad? Hey, Judo.
This is Judo's debut episode. It's the first time we meet her, and it's also the episode that people basically base all their ideas of Judo off. And unfortunately, I think Judo gets a lot of hate that is not necessary. Everyone likes to rail on how Judo is so mean to Bingo and is just an awful character, but they forget that Judo said sorry at the end. This is a redemption arc episode for her. Like, she realized what was wrong. She said sorry at the end. They all hugged. They were happy and their tails were wagging. Everyone kind of forgets that end part is like, Judo's an awful bratty child. So I kind of feel bad for Judo that like, people seem to forget that, yeah, she realized her mistake in the end and she did better.
Okay. Sorry, Judo. That's okay. I'm sorry too, Bingo. That's okay. Just don't do it again.
But something also interesting about Judo behind the scenes is her voice actor is actually one of the only children voice actors who is known in Bluey. So Bluey never credits the voice actors in their shows. They never say their names, they only do the adult ones. And I want to respect that, so I'm not going to say her name either. But she is super famous in Australia. She has done multiple interviews on television about her role in Bluey. She's also the voice actor of Chloe in Bluey as well. So it's the same person, Chloe and Judo. But she also does a lot of amazing movies. She's a great, talented young actress. I definitely recommend watching some of her movies. She does voice acting in a lot of other Aussie cartoons as well. So maybe you might have heard her voice before. The next character in this is Casper. You might be asking, who is Casper, Margie? There was no Casper in this episode. Yeah, not until you turn on the subtitles and you really watch this episode in depth like I did. When Judo's on the phone pretending to be an adult, maybe her mom, maybe her stepmom, we don't know. She does mention that she needs to buy cream buns for Casper.
So then I went to the bakery to get some cream buns for Casper. But
who is Casper? I have made a Bluey theory video about who I think Casper is and how they relate to Judo and Wendy, and is Wendy divorced, single, LGBTQIA, all of that. So I'll leave a link for that theory video when it's out up here and down below. But basically, I do think that Casper might be possibly Judo's stepbrother, or the name of her dad. I have some evidence for both, but I'd love to know what you guys think down below. Who do you think Casper might be? But of course, as I mentioned, she says cream buns and chocolate eclairs, two very staples in any Australian bakery. I always grew up, and a treat on the weekends was always going to the bakery and getting a cream bun with my dad. We do also have some animation errors going on in this episode as well. So the first one that I noticed was the paw prints in the concrete outside on the pavement of the Bluey healer house. When Bingo comes to the front looking for Bluey and Judo, they're not there. But when Bluey comes back to find Bingo, they have magically reappeared again. We also see Bandit walking the wrong way to get to the back of the house. So we see them constantly going past him as he's hanging up clothes. Why do they have clothes in Bluey? I made a theory video about that as well, putting in links everywhere. But they do have like sheets and towels, so that makes sense at least. But he says put these clean clothes away. It makes no sense. But either way, they're constantly going past him to get to the backyard. But then when he's going to the backyard, he for some reason walks towards the front of the house. But then the next scene, he's at the back of the house before the girls pounce on him. So just like a small directional error, I feel, with this episode. And we do also have some of our traditional Easter eggs in there. So our traditional ones are usually our long dogs, our pineapples, our tennis balls, and in season 3, our Chattermax. But for this episode, we have a tennis ball. So when Bluey is showing how to be a caterpillar on the ground, we see a tennis ball. And then also at the end, we don't see like our usual long dog, but we do see like that hand puppet mini yellow long dog there. And in the background as well, we do see some other hidden details. We see the Qantas plane, which we have seen before. Qantas being the Australian airline. And then also at Judo's house, the front in her post box, there's like a paw print on it, which I think is a cute little dog detail there. Now, I do also want to talk about the shed. The shed in the backyard that they are hiding behind during this episode. Now, we all know the Bluey Healer house is this magical place that is constantly changing and has new rooms and new floors, and we don't even know what's going on with it. But the shed appears only a few times in Bluey. So it appears in Butterflies, it's in Backpackers, and we also see it in season 3B in the episode Onesies. Now that episode Onesies is probably the best side-by-side comparison that we can see of maybe what's changed over time in the Healer house over this last year or two. We're not really sure about the time frame, but something that is just fun to notice is, yeah, the pot plant is still at the front of the shed. The shed doors look just a little bit different with the animation, but behind the shed looks totally different. So in Butterflies, we see lots of pot plants everywhere, some dirt spread around, and the sort of angle towards the house is just full bushes and a palm tree. But in the episode Onesies in the future, all those pot plants are gone, so perhaps Chili or Bandit did like a big cleanup around the yard. And then along the side, we see the neighbor's house now instead, rather than seeing like the palm tree and the continuous like bushes going up. So I don't know, there's a lot of renovations going on around the Healer house. I'd be so curious as to the explanation about what's going on. I know it's just for storytelling, but I want to make sense of it all in my head. One day I'll do a Healer house floor plan. I promise. I will have that video somewhere in the future. And of course, we do have some of like the little details that we sort of see recurring with Bingo. So the first, of course, is the 3D up close of her with a little bug. So this is the ladybug, of course, mimicking with the song. I love that we always sort of see Bingo with bugs in this 3D motion. And then in the future, we see Bandit with a leaf. So it's just something really cool and cinematic that they do with this kind of angle. We also, of course, see Bingo crying. We do tend to see her crying a lot through season 1, which makes sense. She's a small 4-year-old child. She's going to cry a lot. But of course, I think for a lot of us, this broke our hearts because we can probably relate to Bingo where we felt left out like that before in our lives. So it was very heart-wrenching. But then we see Bluey crying tears as well because she has so much empathy and she realizes, oh wow, no, I should not have done that to my sister. Like that was wrong. Like, and she comes back to apologize. And again, love it. And Judo, we don't see her crying, but she looks like she's pretty close to tears when she thinks that she has lost her only friend. I mentioned this a lot in my like theory video with her and Wendy, but I really do feel like Judo is she's just insecure. She's not a brat. She's not a bad child. She's just a product of her environment. And I think she's just incredibly insecure. She is very defensive with her comments to Bingo. She's never aggressive with them. It's just defensive. Like, yeah, I know. Bluey's my friend. Of course I would know. Why wouldn't I know? She's acting that way. And it's the same thing. Like, she just wants Bluey. She's clingy to Bluey because, yeah, she's feeling insecure. Like, she doesn't have a lot of friends. Just like Bluey says, she doesn't really have anyone to play with. So I feel like that's sort of the reasoning behind why she acts the way she does. And I do think that she is a product of divorce and some of the issues that come with that. But overall, I would like to give this episode probably 4 out of 5. It definitely got me in the feels. I think it was super relatable for anyone who's been through that situation as a child or even as an adult where you feel like you've been left out. But again, you gotta remember the ending. They solve it in the end. They show that you can solve things a lot of the time by just accepting what you did wrong and apologizing for it and saying that you won't do it again. And I love that message, and I wish that more people remembered that that happened at the end, and rather than just focusing on a lot of the negativity in the first 2 parts of this episode. But cheeky dogs, let me know what you would give this episode out of 5 long dogs down below in the comment section. And if you're down there and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, don't forget to do that as well. Until the next video though, I have picked you cheeky dogs out a few other videos that maybe you would like to watch, and I will see you all in another video. Mwah! Bye!